two sets.
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for the immediate release of this minister in the Temple of Justice.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
The POS operator, she said 50,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth, the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the cowards and the people.
Hello viewers and welcome to another episode of Open Conversation on Atlantic Television Network. Open Conversation is the network's flagship political platform through which trending political news, events and stories are discussed with stakeholders. Through these conversations, ATN uses political talks about the specific issues, party systems and actors to explore hope and engender positive impact to the society. Before I call our guest on, we'll take this very short break, and when we return, we head straight into the details for today. I am Raymond Ken Mbata, holding on for Laurentia Ogu. Stay tuned.
Which are you?
No matter how tough. Representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for the immediate release of this minister in the Temple of Justice.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
The POS operator, she said 50,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth, the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the dumb thing. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for the immediate release of this minister in the Temple of Justice.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
The POS operator, she said 50,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said.
It's my pleasure to welcome you back to Open Conversation on Atlantic Television Network. Our guest for today is Living Gifting Jamala Esquire, a legal practitioner and a political analyst. You're welcome, sir, to Open Conversation, sir.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Pleasure, sir. All right, let's head straight into the matter for today's discussions. One person has been killed while another was seriously injured while reportedly detonating an explosive device during a protest march in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, on Tuesday. The incident occurred near the Presidential Hotel in Port Harcourt. Although the Rivers State Police Command has not issued any official statements on the incident, the protesters were believed to be supporters of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. Meanwhile, the Rivers State government has called on all public and private health facilities in the state to detain any young man who reports to their facilities with a severely dismembered upper limb. The state's Commissioner for Health, Dr. Adeze Ore, made the call in a voice message sent out to media houses in Port Harcourt. Now to the issue for discussion, sir. There was purportedly a protest yesterday for supporters of the Federal Capital Territory Minister in solidarity. And in the course of the protest, I think a bus, a vehicle parked close by with some occupants in it, of which one of the occupants brought out an explosive device. And while waiting for the detonation of the device, it kind of exploded before the given time that it was supposed to. And there have been reported, a death has been reported, and also severe injuries reported on the other, the second person. And the Commissioner of Health also raised an alert to all medical facilities asking for such and such persons to be held even while still receiving medical attention, and to call for the security agencies to apprehend such a person. What do you deduce from this information today, sir?
I think it is to be correct for one to relate it with the happenings, political happenings in Rivers State. For the past few weeks, especially after the expiration of the local government's tenure, the state has been somehow thrown some tense environment.
Exactly.
And I think it was unfortunately fortunate for the incident of yesterday to have occurred or happened. Because I said unfortunate because, yes, we have lost a life. Yes, one is in the ICU. One has been seen traced to the ICU of the Rivers State University of University Teaching Hospital. Yeah. I think that one is still struggling for his life. The unfortunate aspect of it is that, yes, their intentions were not to themselves, were to others. Yes. And so that intentions were caught up with them. They were now victims of their own evil intentions. So if God were to allow their actions, their intentions to happen, would have consumed maybe more than the number of persons who were, for now, sadly but happily are grieving. Exactly. That being said, what the police have, my thoughts, why is the police so silent with the issue that happened? It's over 24 hours now. The police is yet to make a statement, although they were seen in the environment of the hospital when the one with that was badly injured is receiving treatment.
Okay, to come in, sir, I think the police commissioner, Olatunji Desu, had made a statement this morning, sir.
To the effect that, the person who sponsored, and I am also of the view that it's not just one of them that was carrying that explosive device. I think there should be more than one.
Definitely.
So confessions ordinarily ought to have been taken, statement ought to have been taken from the said guy, though on his sick bed, and those who sponsored, because we should have persons who gave him, someone bought it, gave it to them with instructions as to where and when to do it. But as God will have it, the thing detonated even when he was not expecting it. So that should be what the police should be telling us, not merely reporting the incident. It is one thing to report the incident. It is not the work of the police to report the incident. It is the work of the journalists to do that, which they have done. It is now in the public domain. The police should be telling us the investigations, the result of the investigations as to what they found out. Who are those persons who sponsored it? What was their main motive for carrying those kind of explosive? You cannot also take it away from the fact that some persons are still clamoring for a state of emergency in Rivers State. And before a governor or before the president invoked the constitutional powers, working with the National Assembly, having that two-thirds majority to declare a state of emergency, there are certain indices that must manifest before that constitutional provisions can be invoked. And so those things we are lacking. Now, the bringing up of that act of yesterday, assuming it happened in 2, 3, 4 places, and maybe, God forbid, certain lives were lost, assuming that Nolge never retrieved from their earlier announced protests against the continued actions of the police, locking them out of their offices for no just reasons, all in the guise of protecting lives and property. And then there was a clash between these two sets of persons and those with the intentions of having these things detonated. Then the state would have been maybe getting close to those who are praying for the state of emergency to be declared. So those acts were sponsored, and the police should go ahead to name those who sponsored, the intention for the sponsoring, so that others will learn from it. They say, well, laws exist, but if those laws are not activated, they are mere letters.
Okay, sir, in order to put us still in perspective, sir.
Yes, sir.
The action was taken against the protesters who are supporters of the Federal Capital Territory Minister, sir.
Yes.
Do we deduce, too, that they are for or they support the motions of the governor as against that of the minister?
The protesters as of Monday and Tuesdays were those sympathetic
Yes.
to the FCT minister.
Yes.
And therefore, they will see everything wrong in the actions of the governor.
I mean, the arsonists, those trying to detonate
Yes.
the explosive device.
That is, you know, in my earlier statement, I said some persons declared wanted and prayed for, still praying for, a state of emergency. So I believe this is a calculated attempt from those who are sympathetic with the FCT minister to make the state give that coloration that the state is somehow ungovernable, and therefore a declaration of a state of emergency will be justified in the circumstance. So it cannot be far from those who really organized, truly organized the protests as of Monday, as of Tuesday. I'm also aware that the protest is intended to continue for 4 days. So maybe before or during our program, we will get feelers that somewhere, either in one of the local government or even in Port Harcourt City, the protests will still ongoing. Because yesterday they were everywhere.
Yeah, okay, let's not preempt the investigations run by the police to get at who might be the sponsors.
Yes, it is a responsibility of the police to investigate, but sometimes you do not need someone to tell your eyes that the day is fast spent and the night is approaching.
I get your point, sir. But on the same note, we're trying to exhaust all possible angles to this story. Do you also think that the governor was slow in preempting that so and so could occur at the expiration of the former local government chairman? There was this debacle, as in bringing in the caretaker committee chairman and or allowing the local government chairman that their tenures were expired, pending a case at court, of which the appeal court had already said stay proceedings. The order of the appeal court was stay proceedings until judgment is given. Was it too short a time that the governor wouldn't have been able to stay proceedings of bringing in the caretaker committee to at least douse tension in the state, or was he trying to prove a point that he is still in charge of the state?
Point of correction, sir. I do not think the Court of Appeal asked the governor to stay proceedings. What the Court of Appeal did was to stay proceedings of the court below, and that is the proceedings before my Lord Honorable Justice C.N. Wale.
That's still
staying proceedings, staying continuing proceedings of the matter before him. There are two different things. Now, in that particular application that the Court of Appeal refused, are granted prayers 1 to 4 and 7 and refused 6, 8 to 11. Now, the prayers granted by the court, taking us back, the prayers granted by the court were just procedural prayers. What they call in the courtroom is housekeeping. Now, the prayers refused by the court were the main subject of appeal. And so the court never asked that the judgment, the interlocutory order given by N. Wale, my Lord Justice C.N. Wale, should be stayed. That order is still effective up till now, until the Court of Appeal makes a contrary decision. And so we cannot say the governor was slow or never preempt the action. In fact, the governor preempted their actions, and that you see in all his admonitions to his supporters and members. It's for them not to confront. Rather, they should be at the watch. Where the need for confrontation comes, they should withdraw.
Okay, sir. Let me still come in, sir. Up to 3 to 4 deaths have been recorded over the past since the debacle between the supporters of both camps concerning the occupation of the local government secretariats.
Yes.
And the governor made the security remarks after the security meeting. He made a comment that he who is to arrest his supporters should pass through him. What have the supporters done to warrant an arrest? And why do they pass through him? To be able to apprehend anybody who has...
Before the governor made that statement, he said there were sinister plans to intimidate, humiliate, his supporters. Not that his supporters have done something wrong. The governor is only trying to protect the law which he swore to by
or
an
his
oath.
protesters, not the state, because
The governors,
if the intention was to douse tension.
Those sympathetic with the governor have not gone on a protest.
No, but definitely.
Unless you will
going on with the caretaker committee chairman
Yes.
and asking them to occupy, and the attendant conflict that will come, knowing that Rivers State is a keg of gunpowder.
Why are we viewing it in that direction? Why not look at it this other way?
No, let
why
me play the devil's advocate.
Why should some set of persons whose tenure have expired insist remaining in power?
There was a
A few set of persons, up to, assuming they are 21, what is the 21% of the population of Rivers State? So if tomorrow we have some set of strong men coming to say, no, we want to remain in government by all means possible, should we allow a governor to sit down and allow them to continue? It is an undemocratic process, and no governor will allow that to happen. Remember, just a few days ago, on Monday or yesterday, the Southern Governors Forum, comprising of different political parties, came out to applaud the governor for taking that. It is a stand for democracy. It is not about Rivers State. It's a stand for democracy where some mighty men don't come to exist. We're not living in the days of old, where the mighty rule. We are ruled by law. We are governed by law. They came in by instrumentality of the law. That law said their tenure is 3 years.
But there was a law.
That law that they are relying on, law they are relying on, has been set aside by the Court of Competent Jurisdiction. They have appealed it. Yes. There is no state. No.
For the sake of peace.
No, not for the sake of peace. Why can't the other parties also, for the sake of peace, withdraw until a pronouncement is made? There is no proceedings that have the Court of Appeal has asked that the judgment given by my Lord D.I.Q. should be stayed. That judgment is still in effect. That law is not in existence. And so on what premises are they relying to say they will continue to remain in government? Assuming without considering that law is in existence, there are two things that will happen before they will. It is not self-automatic that once, because the Amewule's faction amended the law to make it a Rivers State Local Government Law number 2 of 2024, that once the tenure expires, you automatically assume the caretaker committee or whatever for 6 months. No, two things will happen. First, the House of Assembly will sit to say, looking at the circumstances that the Rivers State government, it is impracticable for election to be conducted, and now that the tenure has expired, by a 2/3 majority, vote to elongate that tenure, giving them a window. Once the House of Assembly sits by a motion or a resolve to do that, they will now communicate to the governor to swear them in. And where the governor refuses to swear them in, they will now sit again by a resolution mandating a judicial service officer, in the circumstances a magistrate, to swear them in. So it is not even automatic. Assuming that law is in effect now, the House of Assembly needs to sit. But remember, the House of Assembly cannot sit at the moment because they have been asked to stop to parade themselves as members of the Rivers State House of Assembly until the appeal. It is still in appeal. Yes. Appeal is not the final destination. Definitely we'll get there.
But all this
so
is
for how long?
All this is on the predication that the governor did not hold local government elections prior to this time, of which he did not give any valid reasons for not holding, because RISEC was ready to hold elections.
RISEC never said they were ready.
I mean, but the governor is in charge of such matters. He ought, even from inception, he had handover notes. He ought to have, a year is long enough for the elections to hold. So
I will not speak
concerning the new law made for the local government extension of office, and also the illegality of also bringing in caretaker committee chairman, knowing that the ground norm of the country forbids that. It was too predicted on the fact that he didn't hold local government elections. What reasons could you deduct? that he didn't hold elections.
I am not to speak for the government. I wouldn't know the reasons
because
why.
this is what cascaded to where we are now, sir.
I agree, but if you want to go back to Section 7, that talks about guaranteeing of the local government, yes, our local governments are there. That same Section 7, Sub 1, gave the powers to the state government to formulate laws for the governance and administration of the local government. So let's not go into whether it talks about democratically elected. Why didn't the Constitution provide for the procedure, the time within which elections should be held in local governments? It is to be governed by a law of the state. And that is the law, Rivers State Local Government Law number 5 of 2018. That is what is in existence. And Section 9 gave the governor the powers to set up critical committees in the event where there is the possibility of conducting an election is not there. So Section 9, that is the law governing. Until that law is set aside by a competent court of jurisdiction, no one can say the governor has acted wrongly.
Okay, sir.
Section 7 gave the House of Assembly. It is during the time of when Mewule was the leader of the House that they made that law. Even extended the powers of the governor to the extent that this former local government chairman of Ikwere local government, Wanosike, was renominated for the third time as a caretaker member. The previous law forbade that. But for the interest of one or two, they amended the law, empowering the governor to do so. Now, that is the law that is in existence. Section 9, go and check it. Gives sub 3, gives the governor the powers. So the best we can do at the circumstance is to challenge that local government law in its entirety, setting aside those provisions that empowers the governor to form critical committees for the period of time. Until that is done, no one can rightly say that the governor is acting outside his powers. No, he's empowered by law derived under Section 7 of the Constitution.
So let's look into the aspects of non-state actors. There have been various viral videos of men from the creek asking for empowerment for them to fight for the governor. Has the governor at any point in time come out to dissociate himself from such actors? Or has he fueled them by his silence, sir?
The governor has not also come out to say that these persons, yes, they are.
No, he is responsible.
He is not.
Knowing that these actors, these non-state actors, are volatile. They can do and undo, and he is the father of the state. He is the chief security of the state.
In quote.
No, but
in quote.
Yeah, but either way, he still bears the responsibility for the lives and property of every citizen. Yes, sir, but he still owns the chairmanship of the Security Council meetings, sir.
So, to what extent?
No,
to what relevance? Let me
that
ask.
He has exhausted.
We have gone
so
past.
He has not told us that
society.
he is being curtailed from performing his responsibilities as a security officer.
You are aware of that?
No, he is not. He has not complained. He has not told us, because these non-state actors, such as the detonation of this explosive, could be from someone that has been encouraged by the silence of the governor, and nothing takes away the powers from the governor from saying, hold your peace, do not do this. I saw so and so videos. I saw so and so. The security agencies, please look into such matters. Everybody, hold your peace for the sake of Rivers State and for the sake of Nigeria as a whole. The governor has not categorically distanced himself from non-state actors who are volatile. Even down to this morning, there has been a former militant leader that has been declared wanted because he showed support for the governor, and the governor has not dissociated himself from that. I believe that the governor owes us a duty of explaining why he has not put a stop to the non-state actors, activities of the non-state actors concerning his ambition and also the cases in the courts and the present security situation in the state, sir.
Section 4 of the Police Act gives the police the powers to carry out the responsibilities of securing human lives and property, to investigate where there is any perceived sense of criminality. So that. And the police must be seen to be doing so professionally, unbiased, uninfluenced by external factors. So if the allegations as made by the CP of Rivers State on national television last night, declaring, because that information was only made known when he appeared on that program, declaring a particular person alleged to be supporting the governor wanted, if they feel whatever reasons that they have invited him, it is within their powers to do so. But I will not also be, I will not keep calm to also not to remind us what has happened in the previous years and previous days. That some persons have been so bold to make some certain statements warranting or calling for a declaration of anarchy, a declaration of war to the state, up to the extent of threatening the governor. Until date, have you seen the police acted?
Sir, does
It doesn't give credence to whoever that wants to cause. That's why I said it is the responsibility of the police to do that.
Is it the responsibility of the governor to distance himself from such non-state actors who show support for him?
The governor has not appointed any of them to be whatever aid.
But he knows they are capable.
They are sympathizers.
But is he going to encourage them in their line of action?
The governor, but remember, if we have to be objective here, the governor in several occasions, in fact in all occasions, have continued to reiterate the fact that peace is paramount in all these struggles. In every occasion, he has the opportunity of addressing what is happening in Rivers State. The governor has also the powers to ask for a tit for tat. If what happened yesterday and Monday, and the governor asked for his followers to also go on a peaceful walk, and the both sides, what the crowd I saw yesterday was just a microzone of a number of persons that would support, who would come out voluntarily, not those influenced by financial gains to come out, because those I saw on the street yesterday were purely hungry men picked from the parks.
Do you support the governor, even as at now, coming out to distance himself from non-state actors?
He has done so.
He has not, sir.
He has done so, and he will continue to do so.
Addressing his political supporters. These are non-state actors, sir.
Non-state actors that you call them supporters, sympathizers of the governor. He cannot call them one after the other. It is a general address to whoever believes in his principles and of governance. So you cannot say that he should be specific, calling out names. If you know you are sympathetic with my government, please refrain from evil. Isn't that enough for you? If you know you are sympathetic with my government, please refrain from violence. Isn't that a general message to all those who are alleged to be supporters of the governor? And they have been doing so. That is why we are seeing this relative peace in Rivers State, because no one has the monopoly of violence, and no one is also above the law. So once you've crossed the line, you should be called to face the wrath of the law. But the police should not be seen to be favoring a particular set of persons.
It has not been reported that they have...
It has not been reported, yes. But it is in the open that the police attitude in Rivers State seem to be favoring a particular set of the gladiators.
Such security.
And that is why yes, we have the facts.
Please, sir.
We have the facts.
Please make it known.
Like I said, how many of these persons who threatened hell and fire and brimstone have been arrested? The one that happened in Ikure local government, the one that happened in Emoa local government, the one that happened in Eleme. These persons declaring violence. Even about 2 days ago, where the alleged, in quote, expired local government chairman, when they made their threats, talked about we have the capacity to invoke violence in the state. Have they been called? Have they been questioned? The one that happened in Echie, what is that? What was the report of the investigation? Is that the same person that held a road walk the other day blocking the Aba Road Express? What are we saying? Let the actions of the police be seen to be just. Because when you act in an unjust manner, there is a limit the person's patience can take. We are all animals, clothed in the form of human being. And there is, to an extent, our patience can take. So if you continue to push the citizens, you push them to the extent that they can no longer move backward, what they do is to respond. And that response may be bigger than the force of the state.
All right, sir. Let's douse the tension a little bit by, that's what we expect that the governor should still do, because he is the father of all.
He has been doing that and will
He
continue
should
to do
still
so.
continue to do so.
He will continue to do
Yes,
so.
because River State is, we've come out from that toga of violent political.
But some persons derive joy in having that toga around their neck.
I don't think we.
Yes, some set of politicians.
There should be a fringe group.
I don't know. See, if you look at the history, if you look at the past 8 years in River State, the past 8 years, that toga of violence is a pride to some certain class of politicians. That makes them daring. So you cannot. When you see the lion, I do not think the smaller animals will like. So they have given themselves that toga, that impression that they are the king of the jungle. So to them, silence or peace is a strange environment. There should be somehow tension to bring the personality in them, so they can thrive.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. Women from Ipo community in River State have blocked the entrance of the Port Harcourt International Airport, protesting the lack of power supply and other amenities in the area. The women said despite being host communities to the airport for decades, they are not getting commensurate benefits, including food and schools. The protesters who stormed the main entrance of the airport in Almagwa at about 7 a.m. on Tuesday displayed with several inscriptions, singing in their local dialect and singing and dancing. Some of the writings on the placards read, "We deserve better treatment as host communities. We demand our citizens' rights. We want electricity in our community." Ipo women peaceful protests, amongst others. The protesters caused traffic as passengers could not access the airport, while several passengers traveling along that route were stranded. Yes, sir. Coming to this protest at the airport. Per se, it's not the first time that has taken place. And I don't know if there was a memorandum of understanding between these communities and the airport being a federal government institution per se. Where do you place the agitations of are they in the right, or did they do something wrong, sir?
I would not. The right to protest, like we said, is covered under the law. Peaceful protest is a form of expressing one's dissatisfaction or grievance over a particular policy or activity of government or an institution. Now, if you look at what transpired, I think that should be the second time. When the governor heard about it, as at when he was addressing the members of the National Assembly who visited yesterday, he made bare the fact that, yes, it was unfortunate that activities of the airport, business activities, were shut down by that protest. So it has, to some extent, the government have lost some revenue, but that ordinarily wouldn't have happened if government were to be sincere in the handling of the affairs of the host communities. We have this agitation in the oil and gas industry that led us to having what they call the Local Content Act, which has to do with establishment of the Content Board. Now, I've asked several questions whether the content law only has to do with the oil and gas sector. I do not think so. I do not think so. The content law, even when we talk about the federal character, exactly. Federal Character Commission has to do with even distribution of opportunities to all areas. Now, what triggered the protest, I was made to understand, was there was an employment that came some days ago where out of it, none from the EDGs. Remember, there is what they call corporate social responsibility also. Yes. Now, the airport enjoys a high level of electricity. But the neighboring communities, the surrounding communities, do not even see that 10% of what they enjoy.
Exactly.
So what then is the effect of corporate social
They
responsibility?
are the host communities.
They are the host communities. They are the ones bearing the hazards,
Exactly.
environmental hazards, and whatever hazard that comes from the operation of that facility of the federal government. Then you want to employ, you bring names from Singapore and impose it on them. You have not checked whether within the environment they have persons suitable for those opportunities also, and evenly distribute. The community is not saying give us all, but please recognize that we are the direct persons who bear the hazards emitted by the operations of the facility. So I think they acted within the limits of the law by exercising their grievance. They have made several rights up to the institutions of government responsible, but they seem to have been underrating their strength. And so what they did was a peaceful protest calling for the attention of those saddled with responsibilities of managing that place. And I think to a relative extent, for the fact that the River State government has intervened and promised to take off from there, we believe that the government's attention will be called through the office of the Minister for Aviation.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Okay, sir. Seeing that such could happen in other locations too, around the Niger Delta per se, could you, because we also do education, not just disseminating information, we also educate where the need comes. Then what would you suggest? Give us 3 suggestions you could give to the government on how to mitigate such from occurring.
We have memorandum of understandings. Government coming into a particular place generally have a memorandum of understanding with the host communities, and sometimes with the state government by extension. And so if that is done, there should be a sincere, holistic implementation of that understanding, because where a community or a particular set of persons are voluntarily given the execution by signing a document, they believe in the content or the covenants and conditions therein. And therefore, implementation should be paramount on both parties. It is not about entering into an agreement with a particular set of persons, and when it is time for you to enforce, you renege because you have the upper hand. That is one. 2, the provisions of the Local Content Act, although it's called the oil and gas, should be made to reflect in whatever sphere of economy, whether private or public. Okay, if we come to public, we talk about the federal character. Government or persons saddled with the responsibilities of implementing policies of government shouldn't be using their position to undermine the minority. Until we treat ourselves as equal, out of those 50 slots that came, if they were evenly distributed, they would have started by states. From states, they make considerations. That's what they call catchment areas. And that is what they make come down to the grassroots, where the places are located. Employments are being done in states, places like Uniport. Yes, it's a federal government institution, but resident in somewhere's premises. Yeah. And so you cannot bring out of the 2,000 names, you are just giving the states, maybe 6. Then others are from different places. But when it comes to those areas, you pay full attention to where the institution is situated. So there must be sincerity. Okay. If we are to work, we must see that, yes, we are made up of a different ethnic group, diverse religious group. But when it comes to sharing of the legacies of government, it should be evenly be distributed, and not a particular set having dominance of the cake, because it is a national cake, and therefore not to be seen by one family eating alone.
Okay, we have been discussing with Barrister Living Gifting Jamala, a legal practitioner and a political analyst. Up next, we have Labour Party, NLC committee storms the Labour Party headquarters and demands Abure's resignation. And minimum wage, Labour Party also schedules an emergency meeting on the FEC decision. We go for a very short break. Don't move a muscle. We'll be back right soon.
There are two sets of people on earth, the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the taunting. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for immediate release of this minister in the Temple of Justice.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
POS operator, she said 3,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth, the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the taunting. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
POS operator, she said 3,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth, the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles.
It's my pleasure to welcome you back to Open Conversation on Atlantic Television Network, right here in the big city of Port Harcourt. We have our guests dissecting political situations in the country in the person of Living Gifting Jamala Esquire, a legal practitioner and a political analyst. Let's hit on some other topics for today. And moving on to that, we have the members of the Nigerian Labour Congress. The National Transition Committee on Tuesday stormed the headquarters of the Labour Party in Abuja, demanding the immediate resignation of the national chairman, Julius Abure. The acting chairman of the Transition Committee, Aduwahid Omar, led members of the Labour Union to the Secretariat chanting solidarity songs and calling for the resignation of Abure on the grounds that his tenure as chairman of the party had expired. Sir, the Labour Party and the Nigerian Labour Congress are at it again, sir. Could you be able to look into the validity of the claims of the Nigerian Labour Congress on the activities and the leadership of the Labour Party and the merits and demerits that lie within, sir?
I think Labour Party is a product, a brainchild of the Nigerian Labour Congress.
Is it truly?
That is what I'm made to understand.
I bet by law, is it?
Ordinarily, by law, Labour Party ought not, Labour Union ought not to venture into political
Thank you very much,
activities. Sir. That is by law. They ought not to. But they have left the tenets, bettered a political party, do not direct participants of that political party.
Is that a new political ideology in Nigeria now?
To the extent that they have not, NSC is not the Labour Party here. NSC is not a party here. It is a platform called Labour Party. So it is not NLC as a union that protects
Okay.
the right of its members. There are two different things.
Okay.
NLC, being a union, cannot venture into political activities.
But here it's saying that they have occupied the headquarters.
Members of a political party.
No, these are members of the Nigerian Labour Congress.
I agree.
National Transition Committee.
NLC was registered as a trade union.
Yeah.
Now, in order to enter into political realm, they registered a political party.
Was it right
There
for
are
them
two
to do?
different. There are two different things here. Here we have a union which ought to be apolitical, and we have a political party.
And the union is interfering in the activities of the political party, which ought to be independent on their
The
own.
union, it is the members of the union, not the union as an institution itself.
Who constitutes the union, if not the members, sir?
There are two different
a
things.
committee called
If you
the
want us,
National Transition Committee.
if you want us to go into company law, how the company law recognizes institutions, though run by what they call the alter ego. Now there are artificial human beings given legal recognitions as though they exist as human beings. And that is where the Labour Party comes from. They are an institution recognized by law to be an entity, but there are persons who man it. That being said, the activities of Labour as a union and the activities of the political party, there are two different organs running those activities. But they are influenced by the membership of the Nigerian Labour Union. The activities of the political party, Labour Party, is influenced by the membership of the union. So that is where the conflict comes, right?
Now, sir, is this reflected in the constitution of the Labour Party?
I wouldn't say so with all temerity, to the fact that I have not gone through the constitution of the Labour Union.
The Labour Party.
And the party.
Okay.
I've gone through with respect to dealing with political participation. I've read that of Labour Party. But with respect to whether or not the activities of the union can determine the functions of the party, that is where the conflict is coming.
Exactly.
Remember, after the presidential election of 2023, the Apapa faction of the Labour Party had conflict with the Abure. That was settled by court.
Yes.
After that incident, Labour as a union came in disagreeing with the leadership of Abure.
Yes.
That again, to an extent,
concerning the National Convention.
Convention.
Yes.
Yes. And so it is the breakout or the fallout of that convention that is prompting a part of the union who are bent on taking the soul of the party that formed the transition committee. I remember a convention has been held. The leadership of Abure has been affirmed.
Exactly. And Apapa has also congratulated.
Apapa has moved on.
Yeah, he has congratulated Abure.
He has moved on.
Yes.
Because for whatever reason he was brought, that reason, that purpose has failed.
Could you deduce why the NLC is still adamant in changing the leadership of the Labour Party?
I am, from my own personal, this is my personal thought.
Exactly, sir.
It's the fact that the Labour Party is somehow in its turn because of the influence it wielded during the 2023 election. And some powerful forces, external, want to destabilize the Labour Party before the next general election. Okay. And that they started with the Abure. They failed. They are beginning to use those who are, they believe, the true owners of the party, and that is the Labour Congress. They're beginning to use members of the family to fight the family. That is the bottom line. Remove that. Ordinarily, the Congress has been conducted. If you're dissatisfied with the process, you go to court to challenge the process.
Exactly.
P2B was somehow dissatisfied with how Abure emerged as the national leader, chairman of the party.
Exactly.
But to some extent, the system has to continue. We cannot be fighting from now till when we should be rejigging the party to make it more formidable. We are fighting in-house. And so we have to move forward. They should be talking of their own ideal of a perfect Congress ought to be from the bottom to the top. That is from what Congress is, local government, states, zonal, and national, and not the other way around. But if Abure, and to those who believe that, no, the tenure of the World Congresses, they have not elapsed. The national was lacking in a complete formation of the executive, and therefore let's do the Congress from the national. Then we can flow down. If that is against their constitution, why not take that to court? You cannot, on a different note, gather some few persons who are sympathetic with your ideologies or your interests to say you are forming a transition committee. bringing a caretaker where there is a Congress. It doesn't work that way. The window available to those who are aggrieved with the leadership of Abure is to challenge that Congress. And if the court finds out that, yes, Abure wrongly conducted that Congress, it will return back, tell them to return back to the status quo and start afresh.
I have this statement. I want you to either debunk or confirm.
If I have
this statement I want to make.
Yes.
I have this proposition. Joe Ajaero intends to run party and also go in for presidential, go in as a presidential candidate, as against Abure faction, coming out to say that Peter Obi remains our presidential candidate, even in 2027 elections. Confirm or debunk, sir?
I cannot confirm. I cannot also I cannot also debunk because I am not Joe Ajaero. And
just like the CIA, you never confirm nor debunk.
Yes, because there's this general saying in law that even the devil knoweth not the intentions of a man, and I am very, very far from Joe Ajaero. So, but if you want to talk about aspiration, it is within his rights to aspire to be whatever political length or office he wants to. But it is also possible that it may be used by internal factors to destabilize the Labour Party also. So there you can speculate. It is within your right to do that, but it's also within my own right to not to affirm that speculations. But the truth be told, the Labour Party has opened its door to external persons who are bent on destroying it before.
All political parties not open to that?
Ordinarily, prior to 2023 election, PDP used to be a formidable party that has the best system of internal disciplinary mechanisms. A very strong political party, but interest in 2023 elections made some of them, they lost their principles and ideology of treating the members. So we have persons who are members of the family but have not been openly with the opposition during the daylight, not even in the night. We used to have persons who sneak out to go and have nocturnal meetings, but it was open prior to the 2020 election, up to the extent that their own members disagreeing with their candidates, campaigning against
juxtaposing that same position, there are members of the APC that are hobnobbing with members of the opposition. The president appointing a member of the opposition party in a very key ministerial position. Is he not going afoul to the constitution and spirit of the APC?
The constitution of the APC never talked about having an all-inclusive national government. So that is where the president could lay his claim from appointing an opposition. But we are all aware of the role, the destructive role, the said person. Is he the only person from the opposition that if the president wants to form a unity government, bringing persons from different sphere of different political platform to form what in the camera looks like a unity system of government?
Has he delivered?
Delivered what?
As in, is he?
To the best of his ability, if he says what he's doing is delivering, then I'm not the one to.
The president is pleased.
If the president is pleased, I'm not the one to score him. If the president is pleased, so be it.
We deviate, don't mind me. We deviate.
I agree.
Let's move on. We have limited time, but I'm enjoying the discussion, please. The organized labor groups comprising of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC, have called for an emergency meeting, and this follows the Federal Executive Council's decision to step down the memo on the minimum wage on Tuesday. Atlantic Television Network gathers that the meeting will be held at 10 a.m. on Wednesday at the NLC headquarters. Reports have it that the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Muhammad Idris, stated that while all 39 items on the meeting's agenda were addressed, the memo on the minimum wage was not. Idris explained that the FEC could not decide on it because it involves local governments, states, the federal government, the organized private sector, and labor unions. He added that the memo was stepped down to allow President Bola Tinubu to conduct thorough consultations before making a final submission. Yes, sir. Concerning the stance of the organized labor, they are in a hurry to see the implementation and ratification of the new minimum wage as proposed from their own side of the table. And the Federal Executive Council met and discussed all items leaving the minimum wage, which ought to have been discussed and implemented. But taking cognizance of the organized labor, state governors, and even the NLC and the TUC, the organized labor, they have decided broader consultations before making a final statement concerning that. What do you have to say concerning this information that we just got, sir?
I want to state without equivocation that the federal government is not serious with the issue of minimum wage. And Labour seem to be dancing towards that too. When the federal government and Labour instituted what they call the tripartite committee, that committee never gave us a conclusive decision of their deliberations. There was this proposal from the federal government, 60,000 rose to 62,000. While the Labour, on the other hand, insisting on 250,000.
Are they fair?
I wouldn't know in the circumstances if they are fair.
Is it doable?
It is doable to some extent.
That the driver could earn?
It is doable to some extent. Like I said, to some extent.
The least paid.
Remember, minimum wage is centralized in Nigeria, which ought not to be so. The issue of discussing minimum wage ought not to be a central issue. It should be of what the states, each of the states should determine how much they can pay their workers, looking at what they earn. Rivers State, Ebonyi State, is not as buoyant as Rivers State.
Is the NLC,
Cross River State.
Is NLC the NLC has not brought that up.
That is what is serious.
But NLC
I stated that both the federal government and the NLC, they are not serious in this struggle. Because if the tripartite, they went on strike for some days, and they crippled, I think the federal government felt that impact, recalled, and called them back for another meeting. That meeting also never came out with direct understanding of both parties. The timeline within which Labour gave expired, and they said they were waiting for the president to make a statement. And June 12 came, the president never made the expected statement. All we heard was there was to be a transmission of an executive bill for the minimum wage. What would be the content of that bill? What is the arrived figure, agreeable or agreed by the all government and non-government private sector? Because it asks for whatever amount we are to accept, the private sector must agree to it, having the capacity to pay. The various state government must agree to it, having the capacity to pay. Local government must also agree to it. So if you decentralize this, if the parties will agree and decentralize, federal government will say this will be the list that any employer of labor will pay a worker. But for our own workers, like is happening in Edo State, where the minimum wage in Edo State is 70,000 naira. The federal government could come out to say, for our own workers, we are not paying them anything less 100,000. A buoyant state like Lagos could say, okay, for our own state workers, we're not paying them anything less than 150. Now, there will be competition. Productivity. There will be competition even in productivity, because there will be a migration of workers. If River State is to pay, I think there was a time even in the health sector, during the time of Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi, where doctors were from other institutions were moving into River State because they were told that the River State Ministry of Health pays higher than even the federal institutions. Now, look at now in River State, we have a federal institution called Uniport. We have the River State University. If you are given the opportunity to pick amongst the two, which of them would you like to be employed as a lecturer? I bet you will pick that of the Rivers State University because they pay higher than the federal institution. That should be the case when we are talking about labor-related matters. For labor in the circumstance, they are not serious because you cannot be talking about a bill when there was never a prior agreement, understanding. There has to be an understanding and the timeline within which this law will operate. It should be included in that bill so that once the law is passed, assented by the president, we now know that in the next 10 years, we are not negotiating anything labor again. And if we are to think forward, if we are to think ahead of time, we need not be forwarding a bill anytime we talk about minimum wage. It ought to be automatic. There are provisions you can insert in that bill to say for the next 5 years, a percentage of so shall be increased or automatic, added. So there is no negotiation. It activates the law, activates itself. Once that 5 years elapses, the law activates and increases the wages of workers by a certain number of percentage. So if we are to earn it 100,000 and you say after 5 years, a 50% is added to that 100,000, so it becomes 150. Then whether that 150 at that material time is doable or not, it should be another issue for discussion. But not every 5 years we are coming to discuss minimum wage and talking about sending a bill.
Concerning the contemporary debacle that we are facing right now, we have an acute issue of food and general economic inflation.
Yes.
In as much as the labor has such humongous amounts being put out for the least paid employee by the government, if this inflation still remains, it wouldn't make any impact on the worker. What if the labor is a proposition for you to debunk or accept? What if the labor decides that we want to make sure that the refineries are working? Wouldn't that be a good place to start from? Because it's going to bring down the price of hydrocarbon, including gas, petrol, and diesel, and what's other things that comes out from the refinery, and also reduce the price of foodstuffs, transportation, and other attendant issues that have been inflated because of the rising cost of hydrocarbon in the country. Wouldn't that be a better course to follow by the labor, either than escalating and giving us humongous amounts that the government may not accede to, sir?
The truth be told, when I said labor wasn't serious, I meant in all ramifications, and on all fours, labor wasn't serious. Labor went into that negotiation with three items. First, the issue of minimum wage. Second, the issue of electricity tariff.
Yes.
Then third, the unbanding of the various classic they call band A and B,
exactly,
still under the electricity.
Yes.
But negotiations have only been centered on minimum wage. That of the tariff increase or a reversion of the tariff is mooted. That of the unbounding of, they call it, you are somehow discriminating Nigerian citizens, which the law prohibits. You call some sort of persons class A, band A, and the other band B. The difference in the power we don't know, because those in band A still suffer the epileptic supply of those that in band G or band C, as the case may be. Now, what everyone now parades as an economist to the extent that from May 29th, in fact, it was even prior May 29th, from the date the presidential election was conducted and President Tinubu was declared the winner, in his acceptance speech, where he said subsidy is gone, from that day, the prices of PMS skyrocketed. Now, it became official on May 29th, 2023, when he made that same pronouncement. And from that point, the cost of goods and services tripled. Yeah. That has been our problem. Now, labor at that material time never thought it twice to say that statement of the president, though thoughtful, though needed, but the timing may be wrong. May be wrong to the extent that there are certain things that the president ought to have put in place before you stop the outright before you put your stop to outright subsidy regime. What could that be? The revamping of the refineries. We have how many refineries in Nigeria? None is at the moment producing. So if you can give a timeline to say within 6 months of my administration, I will make sure that the refineries in Port Harcourt, Warri and Kaduna, if they are not producing up to 100%, at least we shall have 50% each. Now, it will reduce the export, import, yes, it will reduce the export, import of petroleum product. So the demand will be somehow reduced. While we are locally producing some, we are also importing. They want to augment what we are producing. That the president never did. And so once the subsidy was removed, it affected even the air we breathe in Nigeria. The removal of subsidy affected it. That is why the negotiation for minimum wage, federal government talks about minimum wage, labor is talking about living wage. So the living wage is making labor to give the amount that looks so impracticable in the circumstance.
Sir. Okay, sir.
But if we are to cross our T's and dot our I's, the amount given by labor is doable. Doable in the extent that our lawmakers, our federal executive bodies will also sacrifice their luxurious life to put themselves in the place of labor, the workers. It is these workers that generate the money that they steal. It is these workers that go to work every day to make this money that they see and sign and move to another whatever bank they want to. So if you cannot take care of the welfare of your workers, productivity will also be reduced, because it takes a happy man to do a good job.
Definitely, sir.
And when a good job is done, profit increases.
Nice. Well, let's await the decision of the Labour after the scheduled executive emergency meeting.
I do not see something positive. The highest Labour will do is to give an ultimatum out to strike. The Labour has always been a dog that barks.
Mostly reactive.
They are not even, if we talk about being reactive in the positive sense, but they only, they respond with the wave of the wind. Where the wind takes them, when it is time for them to respond, you see them backing out. And so government most times don't even take them serious, because the leaders I think the leaders are not there for the benefit of their members. But the leaders are only there for the benefit of what they can take home. So calling out the highest the Labour will come out today is to bring a communique that talks about an ultimatum of 7-day strike, warning strike, or declaring a strike that at the eve of that set date, they will backtrack.
Oh. We stand to see that. Let's see. On Tuesday, Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, appealed to the Abuja division of the Appeal Court against a decision by the Abuja Federal High Court. The decision had refused his application challenging the court's jurisdiction to entertain his trial. Kanu, through his lead counsel, Aloy Ejimakor, filed a notice of appeal, arguing that Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court erred in her ruling. Ejimakor contended that the trial court only considered 1 out of 7 jurisdictional grounds raised in the preliminary objection, leading to a miscarriage of justice. He also argued that the trial court wrongly required evidence to pronounce on the arguments and ignored the fact that the respondent did not contradict or deny the affidavit evidence presented by Kanu. Ejimakor emphasized that the trial court erred by deeming Kanu's preliminary objection as an abuse of judicial process and striking it out. Yes, sir. We are having a back and forth between the leader of the IPOB and the Federal High Court under Justice Binta Nyako. And he has moved his trial to the Appeal Court for interpretation of Binta Nyako's ruling. What's your stance concerning the case at hand?
Procedurally and legal-wise, it is the right of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to appeal against a ruling of the court that is dissatisfied.
Yeah.
So exercising that right, I will not see it contrary to, I will not say anything contrary to it. But last week also, there was this news that came that the High Court, Federal High Court judge asked parties to explore amicable settlement.
Exactly.
And the leader of the group, being the one standing trial, has graciously agreed to, consented to that suggestion given by my Lord Honorable Justice Binta Nyako. And so if I were to be a member of that team, exploring this other avenue will go somehow contrary to the intentions of that amicable exploration of settlement. So I do not see the need why the Learned Senior Counsel, Jemako, will be pursuing this. It is within the right, but you must put to bear what is before us. We're looking for how we can solve the matter politically, using political grounds, not on legal grounds. Because if you insist on legal grounds, while you exercise your right, the Court of Appeal is not the final court. Assuming without considering that you succeed, the federal government can also appeal to the Supreme Court. It is the freedom of the person, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, that should be paramount, and not having to score legal grounds or legal scores. So that should be his paramount reason. See how he has been in detention for such a long time. And what should be, if there is a political solution to the problem, that should be explored, because some of the rights cannot be exercised legally. It must come for what they call an ADRO, and that is what the judge has even given them. I think they should explore that window and leave the legalities that comes around the trial, because they have been on that for a number of times. And if I were to speak, the application, as rightly ruled, was an abuse of court process. You have previously brought this application before the court. The court dissatisfied and refused the application. You never appealed. You refiled the same application on the same grounds, the same prayers. So it was a clear abuse of court process. But like I said, it is right. Let's see what the three wise men upstairs will say at the end of the day. But if I were to advise, they should explore the political solution to it and not the legal rightness or wrongness, so to say.
We have been exploring the brains and the opinions of Barrister Living Gifting Jamala, legal practitioner and political analyst. We wish we had more time, but we implore you to still stay tuned, same time tomorrow, as usual, for more explosive discussions. And we hope to bring him back some other time to continue in the analysis of political affairs in our dear nation. Barrister, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Sir Mbata, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for having me, and our time flies.
Exactly. We call it a wrap at this point. I am Raymond Ken Mbata, standing in for Laurentia Ogu, unavoidably absent today. Still follow us on our social media platforms, on Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1. Or follow us on our website. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. And don't forget, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Stay tuned for the transition news coming up next.
We always overcome.
Representing people